A very good evening to all my dear students. Welcome you all for our history online class. Dear student, today we are going to start our next lesson, the Mughal Empire 1. Dear students, question is that who were the Mughals? From where did they came? The Mughals were the descendants of the Mongols of Mongolia in Central Asia. They were tall, handsome, strong, and brave. See this picture carefully. This is a picture of Zainuddin Muhammad Babur. The Mughals had developed a new art of warfare, that is, the use of artillery in war. With this advantage, they established a big empire of their own by conquering Turkestan and northern China. The Mughals had heard a lot about India's huge wealth, so they wanted to plunder it, and they made frequent attacks on India and continuously harassed the Delhi sultans. Finally, in 1526 AD, they succeeded when Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat and laid the foundation of the Mughal Empire in India. The reasons for Babur's victory. Firstly, the victory of Babur was due to the scientific combination of cavalry and artillery. The effective use of cavalry and the skill with which Ustad Ali and Mustafa, two great Turkish gunners, fought in the field of Panipat were also important factors which contributed towards Babur's victory. Second point, disunity. The Indian rulers did not visualize any eventual beyond the borders of their kingdoms and could not stand unitedly to face a threat on India from outside. Babur defeated them one by one, captured their kingdoms, and became their overlord. Third point, Babur's personality. One of the biggest cause of Babur's victory was also his impressive personality. He did not lose heart even in the most critical times. He had the capacity to infuse spirit in the dead bodies with his lively speech. He was a born general and was fully conversant with all the tactics of war. Fourth point, disciplined army. Babur's army was very better disciplined than the Indian army. His soldiers knew how to stand in battle and when to charge and when to retreat. On the other hand, the Indian soldiers moved more or less like a crowd, and a little charge from the enemy side was enough to cause confusion among them. Their vast numbers were more a source of weakness than a source of strength. They were ill organized, ill trained, and ill disciplined. Fifth point, inefficiency of Ibrahim as a general. Fortunately for Babur, the revival he had to contend with was an inefficient military general who lacked the qualities of generalship. Neither could he properly organize his forces nor could he plan the battle well. Babur himself remarks that Ibrahim was an inexperienced young man, careless in his movements, who marched without order or retired without plan, and engaged in the battle without any foresight. It was not difficult for a brilliant general like Babur to defeat such an inefficient rival. Point number 6. Use of elephants by the Lodhis. Ibrahim Lodi made a big use of elephants in his army. As compared to this, horses of Mughal cavalry were more active. Very often elephants wounded in a battle used to run back, trampling their own army man under their feet. Dear student, Hope you all understood the reasons for Babur's victory. Now, our next point, Humayun. After Babur's death, his son Humayun succeeded to the throne in 1530. Babur had left a vast empire extending from Badakhshan in Central Asia to Bihar in India, but he had no time to consolidate his empire. Humayun had a difficult task in front of him. The Afghan and the Rajput kings in India regarded Mughals as foreigners and wanted to drive them out of India. The vast empire had not yet been consolidated. The collection of land revenue had not been systematized. So, the finances of the state were poor, and Humayun's ambitious brothers proved to be rebellious. Humayun's Wars. The Battle of Chausa was a notable military engagement between the Mughal Emperor Humayun and the Afghan Sher Shah Suri. It was fought on 26th June 1539, 10 miles southwest of Buxar in modern-day Bihar, India. Humayun escaped from that battlefield to save his life. Sher Shah was victorious and crowned himself. The kingdom which Babur had acquired was now lost. The unhappy Humayun wandered from place to place. He finally had to leave Sindh and go to Persia. The Persian Shah welcomed him and helped him to defeat his brothers, but in the meantime Sher Shah Suri had died in 1545 AD. There prevailed confusion and a civil war for succession to the throne of Delhi. Humayun took advantage of this opportunity. In November 1554 AD, he marched towards India and conquered Lahore, Delhi and Agra. Thus, after 15 years, Humayun succeeded in regaining his kingdom. Our next point, Sher Shah Suri. Sher Shah was the son of a noble of Jaunpur in Bihar. His real name was Farid. Farid was an ambitious general. He aimed at driving the Mughals out of India to re-establish Afghan power. He defeated Humayun 2 times, once at Chausa in 1539 AD and another time at Kannauj in 1540 AD. He ordered the Kutbas to be read and coins to be made in his name. A brave warrior and a successful general, Sher Shah died of an accidental explosion of a gun powder. Sher Shah's administration. Sher Shah was the founder of Suri dynasty. His original name was Farid. He was the son of Hasan Khan, a Jagirdar of Sasaram in Bihar. He was given the title Sher Khan for his bravery under the Afghan rule of Bihar. Sher Shah Suri's conquests include Bundelkhand, Malwa, Multan, Punjab and Sindh. His empire occupied the whole of North India except Assam, Gujarat, Kashmir and Nepal. Though his rule lasted for only 5 years, he has organized an excellent administrative system. He paid to his army salaries in cash regularly. For the general welfare of the people, Sher Shah built many roads like GT Road, Grand Trunk Road from Calcutta to Peshawar. He also introduced gold, silver and copper coins known as Tanka or Rupiah. He started the new postal system by using horses. The rest houses or the sarais on the GT road were also used as a dak chowki. At every dak chowki there were 2 horses ready to receive the dak from the previous chowki and deliver it to the next chowki. Sher Shah divided the empire into 47 provinces called sarkars. Each Sarkar had two chief officers, one looked after the law and order. Sher Shah greatly improved the revenue system of his empire. The land was measured and revenue was fixed according to its actual measurement and the productivity of the land. After Sher Shah's death in 1545, his son Sultan Islam Shah succeeded to the throne. But he too died young in November 1554. Disorder soon followed. This type of disturbed situation enabled Humayun once again to get back his lost kingdom. Thus, the fate of India. Dear students, now our next point, Akbar the Great. Mughal ruler famed for his religious tolerance, empire building and patronage of the arts. He is also known as Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar. He was born October 15, 1542 in Umerkot, Rajputana. Parents' name Humayun and Hamida Begum. Akbar takes power in 1555. Humayun died just months after retaking Delhi. Akbar ascended the Mughal throne at the age of 13 and became Shahenshah. Shahenshah means King of Kings. His regent was Bairam Khan, his childhood guardian and an outstanding warrior. The young emperor almost immediately lost Delhi once more to the Hindu leader Hemu. However, in November 1556, General Bairam Khan and Khan Zaman defeated Hemu much larger army at the Second Battle of Panipat. Hemu himself was shot through the eye as he rode into battle atop an elephant. The Mughal army captured and executed him. When he came to age at 18, Akbar dismissed the increasingly overbearing Bairam Khan and took direct control of the empire and army. Bairam was ordered to make the Hajj or pilgrimage to Mecca, but he instead started a rebellion against Akbar. The young emperor forces defeated Bairam rebels at Jalandhar in Punjab rather than executing the rebel leader. Akbar expanded his empire by keeping good relationships with the Rajput. Dear students, see this picture carefully. This is the picture of Buland Darwaza at Fatehpur Sikri, and it was built by Akbar to commemorate his conquest of Gujarat. The Deccan Campaign. Akbar's first move was against Ahmednagar. The kingdom was bravely defended by Chand Bibi, and only some part of it was annexed by the Mughals. In 1601, Akbar invaded Khandesh and captured the famous forts of Burhanpur and Asirgarh. Akbar's administration. Akbar was not only a great empire builder but also a great administrator. His administration saw the mixture of the Indian system and some ideas which the Mughals borrowed from Central Asia and Persia. Akbar had an excellent administration. Central administration. All the powers of the empire were centralized and headed by the king. He had a council of ministers to help him. Panchayat system was duly recognized and it looked after the village affairs. Mansabdari system. Akbar introduced the Mansabdari system. The literal meaning of the word Mansab. It means office or rank of dignity. In this system, every officer or a noble was called a Mansabdar. He was given a Mansab or a rank. The Mughal Mansabdars were the highest paid officers. They were given handsome jagirs for their personal expenditure and to maintain the required number of horses, elephants, camels, carts, etc. The rank of Mansabdar was not hereditary. The rank was held by the officer only during his lifetime. Army. Apart from this, Akbar maintained a regular standing army of his own, which was directly under his control. It was a highly trusted army directly recruited by him. The emperor also had a well trained artillery and a stable of war elephants. The cavalry was the main constituent of the Mughal army. The emperor ruled with the help of officials headed by the emperor himself. The Wazir and the Mir Bakshi were the two most important officials. The Wazir was the head of the revenue system. The Mir Bakshi was the paymaster of the army. He looked after the army organization. The emperor used to hold meeting with his senior officers in the Diwan-e Khas. He was also easily available to his people.